Hi, I'm Julie Norris, and I am the co-proprietor of Dandelion Communitea Cafe, and this little lady is Maya Juniper Rose. And we are basically a happy little eco-eatery in the heart of downtown Orlando. We serve organic vegetarian food. We have lots of community gatherings, including festivals and moon circles, poetry nights, eco-networking nights, all kinds of fun stuff here at the cafe. American Clay is the first product that Chris and I actually blogged about on our website way back in the day before we were even open. Just the feeling inside of the cafe, it's somehow calmer, and it feels very earthy inside, and not earthy in a granola sort of way, but earthy in a connected sort of way. One of the problems that we've had is, especially in the heat of the Florida sun here, it gets really hot in the cafe, and we have supplemental AC, window ACs to help keep it cool. Ever since we've been doing the install, it has been noticeably cooler.
The color selection for American Clay, they have fan decks like you can see at any of the hardware stores or paint stores. They also have clay samples. There's about 45 or 48 stock colors that you can order. You want Dakota Red, they'll send you a bag of Dakota Red tint. It's one bag of tint, one bag of clay. If you want a deeper Dakota Red, you can go even 2 bags of tint to a bag of clay. If you're very creative, you can also probably mix and match. You would want to have a little knowledge of color mixing to do that, but you can very easily mix the colors together to create your own custom color. Whenever you walk into a freshly painted room and you really get that whiff of smell, that means it's probably got some pretty high VOCs in it. The lower VOC, obviously the lower the odor. So now it's very popular to have low VOC or even zero VOC paints, which you would get no off-gassing and no fumes whatsoever. So it's perfect for bedrooms, especially nurseries for newborn babies. The project I'm involved in right now is with Dandelion Cafe. I've known Julie and Chris, the owners of the cafe, for a number of years. I had talked to Julie about having a relationship and coming in and doing some faux finishes on her restaurant and her walls. And so right about the time I was getting ready to put this project together is when I got introduced to American Clay. Simultaneously, Julie and I were both reading about it in Natural Home Magazine and other publications for green products. And so we both were pretty excited about it. It's a very easy product to use. It's non-toxic. It's just, you need basically just a large drill to mix it up. You add water, you put it on the walls. The cleanup is also, we didn't even have to use soap. We just used water to clean up. The benefits of the clay are unbelievable. It's 5 lead points. You always put down the Loma first as your base because it's like the grittier of the clays. And that gives it a good bond for the next layer of clay, whether you're using Porcelino or the Maritimo, or you can go back over it with the Loma. The compression is when you take the trowel and you mist the wall with a mister bottle of clean water, and you take your trowel and you just even pressure back and forth across the wall. And what it does is it compresses the clay layers together and it pushes the sand back and it makes a nice smooth finish. You can also do it on a textured wall. If you have a skip trowel technique, you put your first layer down fairly smooth, you skip trowel a rough texture over it, and then you can compress that layer and it'll make the top layer smooth and the bottom layer will have more of a rougher finish. So it adds a lot of depth. So it's a good idea to compress, but it's not an absolute must.
My name is Ryan Berry. I'm the owner of Elemental Concepts. We're a company based out of Tampa. We're a distribution company. We sell green building materials. Our main product, which got this company started, is a product called American Clay. It's an all-natural earth plaster. It's an alternative to Venetian plaster. I had met Julie here at Dandelion through a friend of mine, Jeff Barrett, who's one of our installers here in Orlando. So what we're doing now is creating a showroom here using a bunch of different materials, different colors, so we can showcase to people and help Julie decorate her restaurant at the same time.
We purposely have been letting Jeff install it while we're open so that people could see the process. One of our big things with the cafe is continuing to educate the community about ways that they can make a difference, things that they can do to go greener and live a healthier lifestyle.
This is the American Clay. It comes in Porcelino, which is what we're going to do today, which is more of like a Venetian plaster, a smooth finish. It also comes in Loma, which is more of a sandy texture, and Loma is the base coat for all of these finishes. It's the first coat you put down. And then there's a Maritimo, which actually has a finish that has pieces of recycled oyster shells in it that come out when you burnish the product. 50-pound bags is how it comes. The tint comes in a bag already measured out for the desired color. It obviously looks darker. This is the color we're going to end up with. When you add it to the clay, it obviously lightens up when it dries out. You can also add other textures into it. This is straw that can be added to it. That can also bring out a nice texture. We're going to do that in one of the rooms also. Some of the finishes, this is a blend that's been done of like 3 different colors of clay, a yellow, an orange, and a red.
It's an all-natural earth plaster. The parts of it is it's recycled mica dust. There's sand and there's clay. So it's just simply those 3 components in it. We have 3 different types of material. There's porcellina, maritimo, and loma. The only difference between the 3 is the combination. The porcellina has more sand, less clay in it, where the maritimo has thicker aggregates in it, and it all depends on the type of finish you want to get with the end product.
It's easier to do a couple batches at a time. You don't want to get stuck in the middle of a wall either and have to stop and remix. So it's very important to keep a wet edge, and once you start, you want to finish a whole wall corner to corner. Then you can take a coffee break, mix up more material. But we just go ahead and mix up 2 batches at a time, and that way we're covered. And this will certainly cover enough of the room we're doing. It's about 200 square feet per bag, give or take, depending on your technique and how thick you put it on. Your first coat, you put on usually 2 credit cards thick.
The thing that I love about American clay is it's not just earth tones, which I was surprised about. I thought I'd have to have, you know, the orange clay in every single room, but they have a really wide color palette, and at the cafe we have kind of a brighter color theme, if you will. And so I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to get that. I thought I'd have to do like dreary browns and you know, off-whites and clays. But when I saw that they had a beautiful butter yellow color and the porcelain blue, I think it's called Bluefield, it's just gorgeous. And then the jasper green that we're getting in there, and we're putting hay in with it. I'm just so tickled about that.
What I'm going to do now is I got a trowel that I'm going to stir the clay with. One is to kind of get the stuff off the sides to make sure everything's stirred up. You don't want to be putting the clay on the wall and having a big white spot or a dry spot where the tint and everything didn't mix together. Secondly, it's going to let me get a feel for the clay to see if it's creamy enough or too creamy. And this is pretty good right now. I don't know if you can see that. And the porcelain is the creamiest of all the finishes. This house was built, I believe, in the 1900s, so these are real plaster walls underneath that had latex paint over top. So the finish that we put over the painted finish, because it is a restaurant, it was a semi-gloss or satin finish. We used American clay has a grit primer. It's a bonding sealer, again, non-toxic, no VOCs. It basically looks like a natural glue with sand in it. So we wiped that on all the walls, rolled it out, and that what gave us the grip to get this on. If you tried to do the American clay over a painted, shiny finish, the clay is just going to fall off the wall and definitely fail. It's a lot of work to put this on, and it goes with any restoration or remodeling. The prep is the most important, and it's usually the first thing people cheap out on. Primer is the cheapest product of anything you're going to buy on top of clay or paint or anything. So why cheapen yourself out when you can start off with a cheap product and a bonding and have a successful finish?